This is Leisha Holmes, and I'm your host on the Recruitment podcast. And I am so excited to welcome to our global community today somebody who I think is going to have a very inspiring story for each and every one of you, and somebody that I've had the absolute pleasure to get to know before we press record. And I can't wait to get to know more, to be honest with you. So without further ado, this is James Mowat, and he is a director of Energi People all the way down in Farnborough, I think. Welcome to you today, James. How are you?
Yeah, good. Very good. Thank you, Alicia. And thank you very much for your very warm welcome. My name is James Mowat, Director of Energi People. And we're an international engineering recruitment company. So predominantly construction engineering, recruiting throughout the UK, the US now as well, and very heavily in the Middle East. And that's been my market for really old, nearly 20 years.
Wow, gosh, you've been doing it for There's so many things I want to unpick, and not least that you've actually been in your company for a really long time, haven't you? You've kind of worked your way up through the career ladder, which is so wonderful. We've got a lot of listeners who are just starting out their recruitment career, James, and that's why they come and they want to cherry pick all this expertise. So just before we kind of go through your broader story, what's kept you in this company? Like, how do you see that progression, and why do you think you've accomplished it?
Yeah, well, it's as I say, been a long time, as you can tell by the grey in the beard. It started as a consultant back in 2006. At that point in time, I joined the business to help develop the Dubai market, because the Dubai market at that point in time was on a huge trajectory, and I didn't know where Dubai was. To be completely honest, I had no idea what was going on over there. And just the belief that was instilled in me by the business, by the directors, the training, all that sort of stuff, initially was unbelievable. And throughout my whole career, I've always had that belief and sort of trust instilled in me, the culture, and that investment in everyone as well has been really key to help me succeed as well, because I always been one of those types of people that say it's the environment that you're in as well. I think that's a huge part to play in how
I actually think it is that simple. I think that when I think about the leaders that I partner, because my day job is I'm a rec to rec, but when, looking at the audience and the feedback we get from the leaders that listen in, it's about creating a really safe and inspiring environment that allows people to flourish in whatever way they want to. Now, some people might go through their whole career and still want to do the same job that they've always done, but other people are really vehemently ambitious and want opportunity and go, well, yeah, tell me about that, I'll go move there. And I think, very clearly your company epitomizes that, which is phenomenal. So good for them. Now, you have got an amazing backstory, and I said to you at the start, this is season 5 of the podcast, and I've never knowingly interviewed somebody who has truly been the definition of rags to riches. So I haven't heard this yet, which I deliberately didn't ask you off camera because I want to hear it. I want people to see my genuine reaction. I'll try and keep the emotions at bay. Tell us about your rags to riches story, James.
Yeah, so I'll give you a condensed version. Otherwise, I don't want this to sound like a therapy session. But I grew up in a broken home. So mum and dad divorced when I was 4. I stayed with my dad, left again when I was 12. And to cut a long story short, my mum was an alcoholic. So had a very turbulent, is probably the best word, a few teenage years. And got up to 16 years old, and mum completely disappeared. So she left me, and I had nowhere to go. So slept on a park bench for a little while. Ended up sleeping on my dad's office floor because I wasn't allowed in his house because of his partner at the time. It's very interesting. And to cut a long story short, I then was, I think social services pointed me in the direction of a homeless shelter for teenagers. So place used to be called EMEA's Projects and is now Step by Step Partnership in Aldershot. And they gave me a sleeping bag actually, because they didn't have any space. So a couple more days sleeping rough, and then luckily I was brought in, essentially given a roof over my head, in what was named back then as like a youth hostel, so to speak. It was an interesting experience. I'm sure you can imagine, like every emotion that you can imagine is going through your mind and body.
Every emotion, because
Yeah.
I'm a mum to a 17 and 19-year-old, and my heart just goes out to the 16-year-old you. There's so much more narrative and understanding now around the disease that is alcoholism. So, you know, your mum was sick. I don't even want to go there about your dad and his partner, because
Yeah.
whole kind of worms, which I'm sure you don't want to share that bit.
Yeah.
But my emotion, my reaction actually has got nothing to do with recruitment. It's to do with, wow, what an amazing sort of sense of you. It must have just made you grow up really fucking quickly and given you such resilience, James.
Yeah. And at first, a few of the conversations that I've had with others about those days, so to speak, for a period of time, my mindset was kind of fixed in, why did mum do this to me? You know, why am I in this situation? Pointing fingers at my dad and all that sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing that was the big game changer for me was when that finger turned around to myself, because
Right.
it was up to me to get myself out of that situation. You can blame whoever you want. You can't control who put you in that situation, but what you can control is what's up here and how you get out of that. So,
Well, I mean, without a shadow of a doubt, I still think that how you reacted at a very young age makes you very rare. But I think, you know, reacting and how you react is the only thing you can control in life. You can't control anything else. That you can't control anything that happens to you. You can't control any choices you make. All you can control is and decide is how you react to what is happening. So I can't even imagine what a 16-year-old you went through. Before we move on to how that's, I guess, affected you as a business person, as a recruiter, it would be remiss of me not to ask whether, I mean, and you don't have to answer this, and we haven't prepared this part, do you have a relationship with your parents now as an adult?
well, mum, sadly, because of alcohol, took her life in
Oh,
2000. Sorry, she didn't take her life, but alcohol consumed
alcohol.
her, for want of a better word, in
Sorry.
2007. So, no, but interestingly enough, that was, without trying to go too off piece, that was a year into my recruitment journey. So
Wow.
that period, it was pivotal for me in many different ways. That happening, and yeah, obviously as terrible as it was, you know, I think I accepted after quite a while that, you know, mum's in a better place, all that sort of stuff. So yeah, again, that scenario of being in a dark place, again, it was having to then have that mental shift to get myself out of that, to move forward. But with dad, not really. I don't really. I doubt he's going to listen to this, but I don't have a.
Does. And then we have some
Yeah,
kind of family reunion. I want to be there. And
yeah,
I mean, thank you for sharing that. And I mean, that
right.
is serious sharing of a very personal, I imagine, very hurtful and emotional experience for you to recount. But I experience, you know, and we experience as human beings tragedies and challenges that are our defining moments, I truly believe. And when we talk about resilience and we talk about, you know, people having a mindset of, you know, absolute positivity and making things happen, you
Yeah.
literally epitomize all that, James. And I think that's clearly why you've been so successful. So you were a year into your recruitment journey, and had you made Energy People aware of what had happened? Like, I presume they knew your backstory.
I can't. I don't think initially, no, because in honesty, like, not a lot of people outside of like my sister and a few others actually knew
Wow.
what had happened. So I didn't really share that at the beginning. But then obviously when mum passed away and stuff like that, I had that time off where bereavement and stuff like that. And to be honest, um, I know we obviously hindsight's wonderful, and if I knew what I know now back then, all that sort of stuff is great. But I did go through quite a period of self-development, and you know, went to therapy. I had to do all that sort of stuff because yeah, it did. I learned a lot about suppressing everything, and that's what I did at the beginning, was suppress it all so I could go forward. But actually, then learning to deal with it all and unpack that all was really important, and actually made me a hell of a lot stronger.
Well, you will have had PTSD. I mean, I'm not a therapist, but
Yeah,
know, during a really important part of your human development as a teenager, you were effectively rejected. And, you know, you went through significant loss in every sense. I mean, loss isn't just when somebody passes away. It can be, you know, losing a parent to alcohol, to another partner in your case, or in both cases. And, you know, to suppress things, actually often that's what you do to survive. But clearly you are like so unbelievably inspiring here about how you then thrive from that. So we're now around 2007, did you say? So you're a
Yes.
few years into your recruitment career. So talk me through how you believe, so we understand more around your amazing journey in recruitment, how you've channeled that mindset and not, I guess, made yourself a victim in any way, or that you've, if we listen, think about our listeners now, there are a lot of people that have come into recruitment, if we position it contextually, certainly newer recruiters, a lot of whom do listen to podcasts like this, that have probably, you know, experienced serious loneliness during the pandemic, probably lost people, you know, there's definitely a lot of issues around, you know, alcohol and drug abuse. You know, there's a lot of drugs readily available now, and you know, there might be somebody listening right now that goes, that's maybe not quite as extreme as your situation, but maybe is going through some challenges with parents that are dependent or whatever. What would your advice to that person be right now, so that we can understand how to move forward?
Yeah, well, I think like for me, I've always thought like your pain is your pain. It doesn't matter whether or what that is. Do you know what I mean? It could be my story is my own story. Other people's, it might sound less, more, whatever, but it is your own individual pain. And I think like the big thing for me, the turning point was the acceptance of where I'm at. That was the biggest thing,
Yeah,
is actually realizing what's going on. Because
yeah.
the honest truth is, I was a little shit for a period of time. Excuse my language.
Who
Um,
wasn't, dear? Who
yeah,
wasn't?
yeah. I rebelled. I didn't do anything like hardcore. Don't get me wrong, but I smoked weed and stuff like that, so I can resonate with those sorts of things because
Yeah.
again, it was a form of suppression
Oof.
rather than actually going through the emotions.
Dealing with it.
It was head down, keep working, keep going, and suppressing things. So actually taking that moment to realize where I'm at and having the realization of that I'm in control of my life. I'm in control of my destiny. Do you know what I mean? I know what I want to achieve,
So,
and it's not where I'm at now. So it was having that really hard, ugly conversation with myself as well. Of you need to sort your shit out.
it's very rare you meet a younger person who's so self-aware, James. And I wonder whether that's because prior to you even leaving home and your mum being that poorly, you probably had to form a lot of these opinions on yourself. So I think when we think more like broadly speaking about the people that we bring into our industry, I think some of the best recruiters are those that have possibly had to become very self-aware from a very early age, because you develop a much higher level of emotional intelligence and, dare I say, empathy
Yeah.
for other people. And it's probably what's made you a really exceptional recruiter. Before we move on to I know we want to talk about developing business in the Middle East, etc. I do want to refer back to the charity that you went to, because you are now a patron, I believe. So
Yes.
I like to raise awareness for external things. So just talk us a little
Okay.
bit about
Yeah, so it was actually, I think it was before COVID, I got approached by one of the trustees to become a trustee. So, for the charity that helped change my life, that gave me that foundation, a lot more than just a roof over my head.
that.
To be given that opportunity was just unbelievable. It was a kind of like pinch myself
Yeah.
moment.
Sure. Amazing.
Yeah, a lot of imposter syndrome, during that period of time. But then there, as soon as I then accepted, um, my role within the charity, I think, is very unique in the sense that I'm the only person on the board at the minute that has that experience.
Wow.
So I don't get involved in the day-to-day stuff, of course, but as a board trustee director, we kind of oversee the running of the charity. So yeah, that honestly hits me here all the time because it's such a special thing for me personally. So to be involved in that, yeah, step by step partnership
We'll make
is
sure there's links to the show. Are they just in your local area, or do they have any other sites nationally? Do you know?
Yeah, so we've got a site down in Havant, we've got a site in Swindon as well, and recently acquired a property in Farnborough as well. So yeah, a few. We've also just set up a fostering agency, which is amazing. Which again, very grateful to be a board director of that as well. So yeah, it's been an unbelievable few years, to be honest, being involved in that, and that giving back. I can't recommend that enough. Anybody, if you want fulfillment,
It's,
do
I
something.
always think that pay forward, if we bring it back to recruitment, is that actually there's this kind of weird universe effect that the more you do for free and the more you volunteer and the more you give back, the more you seem to succeed.
Yeah,
Well,
100%. Especially as long as your motive isn't what do I get back,
oh,
it's from here,
oh,
then 100%. Then yeah, the whatever you want to call it, the universe or whatever, will bring it back to you tenfold, right? It's yeah, I'm a big believer in that.
I'm a
Yeah.
big fan of that. So there's a few other things that I want to talk to you about today. So I'm very mindful of time because people are probably just like blown away by your story. And I imagine there's a book in there. If you've not already written a book, you should definitely write.
Do you know what? Maybe I should.
I think you should. I think you should write a book. I want to talk to you about you mentioned the Middle East. So I think that for a lot of recruiters, first of all, we do have listeners over there. We look at our demographic every single year on our data and see where people are situated. So hello to everyone that's supported us because we've had a number of guests that have been over there, which is fantastic, particularly Dubai. What would your advice be to I think, particularly recruiters who are on that upward trajectory, thinking, I'm going to move from the UK, saturated market, physically moving over there. So actually going and living over there. So that I think it's a two-part question. So first of all, what would your advice be? And secondly, to our recruitment leaders listening who perhaps haven't yet explored building business relationships over there. So it's a twofold question, please.
Yeah, I think it's got a lot better than it was because several years ago, when probably I say 2009, probably to 2012, so a long time ago actually. Thinking about it now, geez, a lot of the recruitment.
Ages that was
I know
last year.
what's going on, but a lot of the people that I knew that were going over there, even real estate agents, they weren't paid a basic salary. They were paid commission only. So the first thing is do your research, definitely.
Yeah.
But saying that, there's a lad that I know who's friends with one of my colleagues who's just moved over there recently, and he started a new job with a big international recruitment business, and he's loving it. But what I would definitely recommend doing as well is actually researching the realities of what life is like over there,
Okay.
because Dubai is unbelievable. It's an incredible place. I feel, one of the most inspiring places in the world. It's hard not to be when you're surrounded by G wagons and Ferraris, whether that's your thing or not. It's it's a very dynamic environment. So, but it's not all like that.
No.
So the same with anything, especially in that part of the world, it is very much work hard, play hard kind of environment. And yeah, I know that's quite a cliche, old school.
No, I think it's very important because I have in recent years interviewed a lot of recruiters who've had to come back because they hadn't done their research. They'd
Yeah,
never even visited Dubai and they could not afford to live over there.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it's, yes, it's tax free. Well, you still have to pay some tax, but it's just nothing like what you pay over here. But
Yeah, they
actually,
just tax you in different ways.
exactly. So I think it's very important, and I'm always maybe it's the older person in me, maybe it's the mother in me, but I think I would always rather undersell an opportunity and
Yeah,
all that glitters isn't gold. But I do also appreciate it's a magnificent opportunity for those who don't yet have commitments, who don't yet have families or mortgages. I think it's a really great opportunity, and I'm glad that they can hear that from the horse's mouth.
yeah, and it really is. It's, as I say, unbelievable, an incredible place to be. And there's so many people that I know over there that have excelled tremendously. The thing that they seem to do really well over there is that they they really appreciate younger leaders as well, more so than here. Like even in the sector that I recruited, you'd get a lot of the directors in businesses who have been there for 25 years.
Yeah.
But in the Middle East, you've got directors of businesses that have got 10 years of experience. So the growth can be
Meritocracy rather than tenure, which I totally subscribe.
100%. Yeah,
Good.
yeah. Yeah, I did. Go back to the question, definitely do research. And just it's not just a holiday. Definitely.
But maybe it should just be a holiday, is my caveat. Just go and have
Yeah,
a holiday there and then decide
yeah, yeah.
life
And
decisions.
it's the people there are amazing. You know, there's so many different cultures, and that I think is something I had to learn very quickly when I was 19 when I first started here. Was to embrace that and to actually be inquisitive and learn.
Yeah,
And you have to adapt your style quite a lot to the different cultures, because people communicate in so many different ways.
of course.
And I think I was very fortunate that early on in my career to recruit out there. And the reason for that is in Dubai culturally, in the Middle East culturally, you don't just sit there and talk business straight away. You get to know people. That's part of the etiquette. It's part of their culture.
That's how it
And
should be here too, can I just say?
yeah, yeah, it should, and it really should. But there's so many people that communicate so transactionally, and that's why they don't build relationships. Whereas I think I was really fortunate that it forced me to do that because
Yeah,
that's
doing
the
it properly.
culture. So then using that here for clients in the UK, elsewhere, that's helped me develop some unbelievable relationships. Yeah, nearly 20 years now.
Amazing. That's wonderful. So my part B is if
Yes.
business leaders listening who are based, even if they're not UK, they could be America, they could be Australia. What would your advice be for trading successfully in the Middle East?
Yeah, get your backside over there.
Right.
Definitely. One of the big things, especially now with what's going on in Saudi Arabia, everyone's trying to chase the gravy train, right? There's so much talk about Neom and Qadiyah, all these huge billions and billions and billions of investments they're making. So they're very, very well aware that people are obviously going to try and jump on the oil train slash gravy train.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So actually getting yourself over there, same as any part of the world, to be fair. I'm sure it's the same if you recruit in the US or if you recruit.
I was just about to say I've had this
Yeah,
conversation a few times with America. I think it's very hard to penetrate
yeah,
a market where it's relationship led if you're doing it remotely. I think that's
100%.
it. You've got to
And
get
that's what the Middle East, especially, is incredibly relationship led.
good.
Probably because it's got such a huge expat community.
Yeah.
So there's more expats than there are locals, like tenfold.
Yeah,
So
no. When I've interviewed anyone from there, that's what they've never met anyone that's
yeah,
Indian. All like,
that Yeah, that whole networking piece is so important. So make the effort to get over there and really actually make the effort to develop those relationships as well.
yeah, it's really good advice. The last question I want to ask you is a beautiful segue to the start of this conversation, which is around you as a young person. And we at the podcast and me as a business, leader, I think understanding the next generation. I don't know if you're a parent, but I'm a parent, and looking at what Gen Z and obviously Generation Alpha and the ones that will come and follow, they're growing up in a very different world to the worlds that
Yeah.
we. So, what would your advice be? Again, this is a two-part question to a young person listening that is probably listening because they've just started in recruitment and they want to try and understand everything. What would your best advice be for becoming successful in recruitment? And then the second part is to recruitment leaders. What would you implore them to encourage them to give a young person a chance?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me is shock, resilience. But the way to build resilience is getting out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
So testing yourself, challenging yourself as much as you possibly can is so important, and getting out there and meeting people. I'm grateful. Ironically, we're doing this on Zoom, but nothing replaces face-to-face time with people. So getting out of your comfort zone, meeting candidates, meeting clients, doing that, especially in the early part of your career, is so important. I remember, believe it or not, it's that long ago. My mindset when I first started was, and it's not in an arrogant way, the best way for me to hack this, to get ahead of everybody else, is to speak to as many people as I can, and having a mindset that everyone needs to know my name. So networking on the telephone, essentially working pretty damn hard, is very important for anybody to be successful. You look at any business person, any sports superstar, it's all about hard work,
Yeah.
and that's just the reality of it.
Can I just pick up on the thing that you said
Cool.
about pushing yourself out your comfort zone? So if you're listening to this now and you're being told you've got to go and do BD calls, or you need to, send however many CVs or whatever it might be that you're thinking, oh my God, try and go back a step and think about a hobby that you have, or a situation. I mean, yours is an extreme example, but a situation in your personal life, and it could be your parents divorced, it could be you had a bereavement, it could be something, maybe you've had a disability or you've got neurodiversity, something that where you have had to overcome something, and whatever that did you to get you through that, that's your resilience. Nothing in recruitment will ever seem as harsh as that, because
No.
actually the worst thing that can happen in recruitment is somebody goes, no thanks.
Yeah.
In 26 years, I've had one person tell me to fuck off, literally one person. I did cry, but I was 8 months pregnant, so it was hormones, I'm telling you. And that's,
Yeah.
I'm being serious. No one will actually ever be that rude. They might not take your call. So I just need people to stop being so fearful
Yeah.
when actually you've probably faced worse things in your personal life.
Yeah. Don't worry about it.
Don't-
Like that's
yeah.
something that I remember again rewinding back many years ago. The first time, and again, this is credit to the business. I first went to Dubai. I think it must have been 6 months after my mum passed away.
Right.
So I was 19 then, and I went on my own, and I was shit myself. I'm like 2 years ago, I was homeless. Um, just lost my mum. This is not a sob story. Please don't take it that way. But I'm thinking, why the hell is someone that's good building the tallest building in the world want to fucking talk to me?
Right.
Do you know what I mean? I'm shitting myself. I have no idea what it's like. I have no idea where anything is. But being chucked 2 feet in the deep end, that changed me massively.
Right.
And it helped me grow so much. But it was also the acceptance of the excitement as well, I suppose. Like nerves are a sign that you're alive.
Oh my God,
It,
I love that. That's
it,
so true. And do you know what else? That they gave you an opportunity, your clients in Dubai gave you an opportunity because people want to help young people. And you were a young person, you weren't walking around with a victim sign on your head. They knew you were 19, they knew you weren't a 40, I don't know how old you
yeah,
are, 35,
not
40,
40 yet.
sorry, 35 year old. Sorry,
38.
I don't know, I just presume I'm similar age to me, although I'm much older than that. But the point is, actually, there's two things there. One is if you don't feel it, you're not alive. I totally agree with that. And the second thing is people will want to help you.
Yeah. And there's so many people that, clients that I would consider as friends now. I've known them for that long that they've been so pivotal in my journey and my success
Yeah.
because I think they could tell the eagerness in me. They knew I wanted to to make an
You wanted
impact.
to know everything. You wanted to help
Yeah,
people.
uh,
I love
so
it.
inquisitive and wanted to add value. That was the big thing that I think we've always exceeded at in many ways above our competitors.
Good.
Is doing that, is going above and beyond, and looking at what more can we do to help your business. Not I want a fee. Have you
No,
got any jobs?
well,
It-
like, don't say that.
exactly. But
Love
yeah,
it.
as I say, owe it to the business in that sense.
Too.
That point specifically was really pivotal for me and my growth, for
And this
sure.
answers my earlier question around your loyalty to your business, because I can see now why you have
Yeah,
continued to work for what it sounds like your business owners are absolutely awesome.
yeah,
So
legend.
the second part, and probably the most beautiful way to finish this, given, as I say, how we started, what would your advice be to recruitment leaders about how they can support a young person today?
I think again, without sounding like an old fart, this generation that makes me feel old saying that. They want time. They need training. They want time. You can't just give someone a phone and say good luck.
No,
You need to invest that time and understand those individuals as well. Like the old school ways, that it's very difficult to try and find someone nowadays that can adapt to that environment
no.
as well. I think,
That's not the world that they're in. So
but
that as
believe
a
in
leader.
people. Yeah, believe in people, and you're as good as your people. So if you don't invest your time into them, then you're not going to get anywhere, and you're going to go through a lot of staff.
Well,
It's
you
not
are,
gonna
and you're not, and you won't be around in 10 years, because Gen Z
be-
is your future talent pool in the next decade. So I'm so pleased you said that, and you've been totally joyful, as I know you would be. I know you've been on a few other podcasts, but I hope this allows other people to listen and get to know who you are and your business. And if anyone wants to reach out to James, all contact details on LinkedIn, and also for the 2 charities that you mentioned that you're trustee to as well. If anybody locally wants to get involved, we are huge about community and supporting people that need our support. You know, it's all about raising awareness. James, thank you so much for joining me.
No, thank you. Been a joy.
Yeah, you've been a joy too, and thank you for joining us on the Recruiters Recruitment Podcast.